All right, let's go ahead and call this meeting of the Isanti City Council to order. If we can start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Doing roll call, we have all council members present. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, I will look for a motion to adopt the agenda. Do we have any modifications?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We do. We have a removal of a business item. K2 will be removed from the agenda this evening. Thank you.
K2 is removed from the agenda. And then I was looking at maybe wanting to pull out, let's see here, from the consent, I was looking to pull L3, L4, and L5 out of the consent. So if I can get a motion with those changes from a couple of you guys.
Was K2 just not prepared, ready yet for the meeting? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the changes.
Well, I just wanted to pull them into the discussion. I didn't want to remove them.
So you need to add them then, under business items?
Right.
My motion includes that.
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Merrill and a second from Councilman Collison. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. And let's see here, we have got proclamations. We've got Jaden. I'll let you kind of take over from there, I guess. I'm not sure what we have there, but.
This evening, I would like to introduce Ms. Carrie Tillman. She is with MCFOA. She's the president of that organization, and it is for the organization, amongst many things, for municipal city clerks.
Okay.
I'll let her take it away.
Well, thanks for being here, Carrie. Go ahead.
Mayor and Council, thank you for granting me a few minutes on your agenda this evening. Again, my name is Carrie Tillman. I am the clerk treasurer for the city of Zimmerman and also currently the president of the Municipal Clerks and Finance Officers Association in Minnesota. The MCFOA is a 501c3 that was established in 1937, primarily to promote and provide educational opportunities for city clerks, finance officers, and similar positions in a municipal setting. One of the aspects of our program is the opportunity for our city clerks and our members to become certified in the state of Minnesota as municipal clerks through a 100-hour in-depth program of education that covers all aspects of municipal government, from planning and zoning to public speaking to running council meetings, writing ordinances, and all sorts of things like that. Your city clerk, Jaden, completed her institute this year, and once the institute is completed, members have the opportunity to apply for designation as a certified municipal clerk in the state of Minnesota. Jaden submitted an application after she completed her institute. It was reviewed by the committee, and the committee has found that she has met all of the requirements to be certified as a municipal clerk in the state of Minnesota. So I am here on behalf of the MCFOA to confer the designation of certified municipal clerk to your city clerk, Jaden Strand. And I have a certificate of honor to present to her that says the MCFOA has conferred the title of Minnesota Certified Municipal Clerk upon Jaden Strand, effective the 16th day of June, 2023.
All right, great. Well, congratulations, Jaden. Thanks for coming. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the city council minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Collison. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Announcements, we've got Committee of the Whole coming up on Tuesday, July 18th at 5 p.m. We've got a Planning Commission that same day at 6 p.m. City Council at 7 PM, and a council budget work session immediately following the council meeting. Any council committee reports? Hearing none, we'll move on to business item K1.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Per Chapter 298, which is our cannabinoid products chapter, we do have a registration for businesses that fall within the category of cannabinoids derived from hemp products. This is a chapter that we know as things move forward and the new licensures come through with the state that we will be amending this chapter, but this is as it stands currently right now. We do have 2 applicants this evening. One of them is from DB Graphics, Inc., doing business as the CBD Joint, and they are in our audience if you have any questions for them. And then the second registration is for Minnesota Stores, LLC, DBA Dino-Mart number 2. So they have had a background check ran. Then staff is recommending per our ordinance 298 is that they are permitted to, in the CBD's case, continue to sell their hemp-derived THC products.
Do we have a third applicant too? I thought we had discussed in the past, and
We do have a third. They are not able to attend this evening, so they'll be on an upcoming agenda. They were out of town.
all right.
We did have within our city code, or that chapter, that they need to be present to be, to receive council's approval if council deems it to be approved.
Okay. Any questions or comments or discussion to be had on that?
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion for approval from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Mayor, if I could ask for clarification on that, is that just for doing business as a CBD joint since they are present but not the Dino-Mart, or are you approving the Dino-Mart without them present?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had both of them present there, so,
No, actually, we just have the CBD
Okay.
present currently.
Yeah, just
so
the CBD. then.
okay, gotcha.
Dino-Mart, if they have to be present, they have to be present.
We will add them to an upcoming agenda then.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to, moving on to the new K2, resolution to consider approving a request from the Park and Recreation and Culture Board to hold a special work session meeting.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. So at our last Park Board meeting on June 27th, the PRC Board had some discussion about kind of the future of our park system and kind of our park dedication dollars that will be coming in with some future development, just where we want to focus that to align with our park comprehensive plan, and at the same time kind of review the park comprehensive plan. You know, it was made a few years ago, and the city's seen rapid change and growth, so we just want to make sure that everything still lines up with where we want to be and kind of review that. So the PRC Board really wanted to have a hands-on meeting where they could go out to some of the parks we've identified that would be our kind of priority parks to do something with if we had some funding set aside at the Park Dedication Fund. And they would like to invite some members from council and other community groups, like the County Park and Rec, maybe community education, some of those other organizations that we partner with on a lot of different things, to just kind of come together and make sure we got a roadmap that kind of fits with what the community needs. So, and then to note, we did have our meeting in May was canceled. We didn't have any agenda items, so if we added this item or this meeting, we wouldn't really be affecting the budget too much, I guess, by having a special meeting for them.
You might remember that in 2022 was when the park plan was adopted, but it actually was completed in 2018. So just with changeover of staff, it really hasn't been updated since then, so.
And I'm on the park board as the council representative, and I think, what was the number you had kind of estimated on what we're gonna probably have coming in for park dedication funds that can only be spent on new park amenities? I mean, it's pretty substantial, and I think some thought probably should be put into how we're gonna go about using that in the best way.
So I mean, nothing is for sure set in stone, but I mean,
With what we have submitted so far, it's another $300,000-ish coming in.
And there's
in
some
the
other
next 2
projects that I think
years.
could have put that, could put that in that 500,000 range even, something like that, I think we talked about, so So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money, and I think it would maybe be wise to have them putting some extra thought into it, and like Jordan said, we had a meeting that was canceled earlier this year, so it doesn't really change the budget as far as cost of a meeting, so.
Motion to approve.
I have a question. How long are those park board meetings usually? Between like an hour to 2?
About hour and a half, kind of
Okay.
depending on what we have for agenda items.
Okay, so it's generally pretty full when there is an agenda, so it's not like they're 10-minute meetings.
Yeah, we usually have pretty good open discussion on a lot of stuff.
And they kind of want to do something where they're inviting some people from outside of, the community and kind of getting some more
Sure.
public input sort of too, so.
I'll second that motion.
Visual would be nice to actually have them go out to the.
Oh, yeah, I think so,
Yep.
yeah.
We'd
Yeah.
also like to have a second council member attend, just so we can get more feedback from you guys. So whoever you could appoint for that, that would be great to do during this motion, if you could.
And we don't have a date or anything like that, I
No,
don't
I
think
think-
yet, so it's gonna,
Yeah, I think at the next meeting, we probably pick out a date that might work and then focus on that.
yeah, do we want to, I think they're thinking more in the future, sort of not immediately. I mean, do we want to maybe wait until we have a date and then see who's available that might want to do it, or if there's anybody else that,
Otherwise, I'm on the county park board, so I'm already involved with the parks. I can come as a
Okay.
council member if we need it, or if my schedule doesn't work, somebody else.
okay. Yeah, that's fine too, if you want.
Wondering if Mr. Heeman shouldn't, because he doesn't on any other boards other than the normal boards we're on.
Sure. Don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know yet, so.
I'd be more than willing to do it, but I need to know a time and a date.
It would be held at a regular time, I would assume.
I think at our meeting, we discussed it being a separate,
Kind of what I
Separate
thought,
meeting.
yeah.
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 So it'd generally be the normal start time of that board. That's what,
6
7?
PM is when we usually,
6?
yeah.
Then I'm out if it's on a Tuesday, because I have the
Could you-
county park
yeah.
board the same day and same time.
I should be able to make that.
Okay. All right, so we'll have Councilman Heeman be the second council representative, and I had a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill to approve the additional work session meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to K3, authorizing the contract for meter changes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm presenting this item on behalf of Mr. Becker. He's not able to be here this evening. So the city did approve in our capital improvement plan in 2022 a meter install project. It was a pretty robust project, and we were very proud to be able to have had the foresight to have extra planning time, because we started this venture and pricing everything out, our different meters, back in 2018, Mike and myself. We were able to project saving about $400,000, give or take, with Public Works doing all the installs and taking 12 months to do so. However, we have come into some unforeseen issues with our current meters, which are what we call our old meters that we're replacing out. The radio's battery is not lasting in all of them. It started out with a few dozen, then it went to about 60. This last meter reading cycle for utility billing, we had about 200 meters that would not read. It becomes a big issue as we can't pinpoint the date that we're collecting the reads to get accurate, very accurate data, so we can send out our bills on time so people know and can count on it. As we project that this will continue to grow, we've been in contact with our meter representatives, and other cities such as Champlin had the same problem happen, and it just kept on increasing as time went on. And not only do we have the trouble of getting the reads, but then we also have a very extreme amount of time that it will take for staff to do the calculating, the data, the collection, actually going directly to the meter, getting access to the home to get these reads. So what we're recommending at this time is for Public Works to continue to do meter installs as we've been doing, but to contract with, it would be Millbank Windwater Works. This is actually one of the partners of who we got our meters from. And we're very happy that we have our meters on hand, because they were quite a few months out to even get those meters. So working with them, they will do the full gamut of doing the install. They will coordinate the appointments. They will coordinate the work orders. They will send the data back to our utility billing so we can input them into our system, and then they will actually do the install. They will send out a crew of about at least 4 people to get this done in a very timely manner, because time is of the essence to make sure that we're keeping up with this. One thing that is included in the resolution, I do have this information printed before you on the dais, is that the last whereas is as urgent that they get replaced, which requires residents to comply with instructions on the notices. I'd like to point out that, let's see where I put my note, that they require that after 3 letters of notices, 3 letters going out and actually getting notice in person, a phone call and in person, I believe, from the company. If they do not comply with setting up an appointment to get their meter changed out, they do require that the city turn off their water, so then they need to get their water meter switched out. That is part of this contract to keep it moving forward. Otherwise, we will have dozens and dozens of getting pushed out. So.
As in the last one we had somebody that was saying that their readers were causing irreparable damage to one of their children, and it turned into a nightmare. And I mean, those same people have microwaves and the same people have cell phones. So this signal is no different than either one of those things. I don't disagree. I mean, it's a lot of effort on their part to notify the homeowners. And I think 3 times being contacted, you should be able to come up with a time.
Well, really,
it isn't costing them anything to do.
You're talking 5, really.
Yeah, 5 when you're all said
3,
and done.
yeah.
And it's
Just to clarify, it's 3 letters, 2 phone calls, and an attempt to visit the home knocking on the door.
So you got 5 chances to get in there. This isn't costing the homeowners anything other than what we gotta shell out, which is coming from probably the water department billing, but I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah, I mean, there was no, the stuff that we have now for reading this it's not working anymore, and they won't, Badger kind of left us up a creek, and, we really have no other option but to change them out, and that's the reason that we went about doing it. And I think at one point in time, I think we were talking about, when we first started looking at this, it was gonna be like $250,000 or something like that it was gonna cost us to get all of them changed in the city. And so Public Works has done a lot of diligent work on staying on top of this, and they've got a ton of them done already. I mean, I think we only got like 1,400 some left, if I remember
I don't have that
talking the other day.
information on me,
So-
I'm not sure, but.
So, yeah, there's not that many left, and
Look at the total price, that's like an employee and a half. And an employee and a half in the Public Works is not gonna get it done in a timely fashion then.
yeah, they're gonna get it done a whole lot faster.
Well,
Yeah.
based on these numbers here, it's almost $100 a unit. So my first question was, how many hours does it take Public Works to do one?
They can do about 20 in a day,
Okay.
and
so
that's moving pretty quick. I mean, I've gone
And
out
that's
and,
not doing their normal task that they
Right.
need to
Right.
do.
Is that?
and that's with a team of 2 people, yeah.
Okay.
And that's, I've gone out and done it with them and stuff. I mean, and that's if everything goes perfect. I mean, people are there when they're supposed to be there. It's not doesn't give them a hard time when they're trying to remove it, and when they set it up, it works right away, and there's not a dog barking and yipping at their ankles. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of 20 a day if things are really moving along
So that's
the right way.
1 to 2 hours per meter installed then, so.
Well, you figure every
Yeah.
30 minutes or so,
Yeah.
because they're working 10-hour days.
Yep.
So, but yeah, and it's 85 a meter is what we're paying. for
89
these guys.
plus there's a starting.
Well, wasn't it 85, I thought I was told? I
No,
guess I didn't look at it here today. but-
89, and then if
okay,
you.
89, yep.
And then if you divide the mobilization cost by the number of units, basically if you take the total bid,
1,400 left, yep.
divided by 1,400, it's roughly $98 a piece. if
Oh,
my
I
math
see
in
what
my
you're
head
saying.
is
By the
correct.
time you get this
Because they get the
mobilization,
mobilization
yeah,
and all the
sure,
other
sure.
fees, that's how.
Okay,
But then you
gotcha.
think about that too, you got a guy going out, 2 guys going out doing this, they got the fuel in their trucks, they're not getting work done at Public Works like they're supposed to, that's pretty cheap.
Is there that much to do at Public Works during the summer?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay.
Well, and the
Yeah.
problem is, though, is that you've got, like Josie said, it's important to get your meter reading in a shorter period of time, because you only have this window
Sure.
where the meters have to be read, so you can get the billing out when they're supposed to, and so when you have these radio batteries all dying at the same time,
And there's no warranty on those, or?
no, well, I mean,
Oof.
Badger wouldn't even support the software since 18 or
It's
something
too
like that.
bad the newer ones didn't have the option to plug into the wall. You know, like,
Hardwired?
not hardwire, but, you know, just like an
voltage,
AC
yeah.
adapter plug
Yeah.
you would have on the back of any, your cell phone, you plug it in the wall or a radio, you know? Because then, if there was an outlet near their water meter, and then the ones that wouldn't just run off the battery.
But there's
That
a lot
sure
of
would be
them.
nice an option.
But a lot of times, a lot of these things, the batteries, when the meter spins, will recharge the battery.
Charge.
Yeah, and I put in flush valves so that way, and they actually are phenomenal, unbelievable how well they work, so.
So I have a question on the meters that we're using. Is there any sort of warranty or contract with this meter company so this doesn't happen again?
We do have warranty and contracts with it, and we did with Badger back in the day as well. It just, as technology changes, it becomes obsolete, and we've seen that with a lot of other technology stuff too. I don't have that information off the top of my head, but the reason why we went with this company, Mueller, is because they offered the best. We were looking for, not to go with the cheapest option per se, but looking at the best technology to get the useful life that we believe that we should be able to get from meters, because these meters should have lasted 20 years and they didn't.
How long did these ones last, the first set?
They were put in 2012,
Okay.
give or take, but yep.
You weren't here for that whole discussion when we went
Nope.
to this.
It wasn't.
One thing I was gonna bring up, though, is that in the past, I'd heard when they did meter changes, and I was talking to Mike about this the other day, but, you know, if we could do, you know, maybe if you, sign up to get your meter changed out within a certain time period and get $5 off next month's bill, or I think they had done a raffle in the past where they did like a gift card or something like that, so if you signed up, within a certain time window, so that we could get everybody on the books and ready to get changed out, because that's the tough part, it's setting the appointment. If you can do 20 a day and you got those guys out there doing, 20 or more a day, if they've got 2 teams, they're thinking probably, maybe, hopefully 40 a day. So, I mean, you could potentially get this wrapped up in, a few weeks' time. I don't know when they were able to start or not, but, I mean, the key is getting people actually booked for the appointment to get done, so I think I wouldn't be opposed to maybe doing some kind of incentive to, to encourage people to get their appointment set.
Per statute, we're not allowed to give gifts, but there could be somewhat of a discount or something. We could look into that as an option.
Somebody came in the other day and told Anna that they had won the lottery last time. They had got a gift card or something like that for.
They did that, when they had like the best lawn awards and stuff.
Oh, was that what it was?
But those gift cards were donated by local businesses.
Gotcha.
The city did not
Provided
provide
by
the
the
funds
city.
for those wards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe
That was the mayor's
Mayor's yard.
And
Mayor's
he got
yard.
sponsors for that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, so maybe maybe the guy was thinking of something else then, but okay, but we could give a discount off of the water bill if they booked the appointment in a certain amount of time, or?
I'd look into it more.
Okay.
It's possible. I
Okay.
can't say definitively.
Yeah, I'm not saying we want to give away the farm, but I mean, just a little something to say, hey, we appreciate you, getting it done, but then what do you do with all the people that have already signed up and got it done already?
So for these water meters, do they have to go in the house? Is that why there has to be an
Yes.
appointment? Okay,
Yep.
They're in your
And,
basement,
and 2 people have to go in, not just 1.
okay.
and it's better off to have 2. If something, you got 2 people, you got somebody collaborating in case something goes wrong, trust me.
So are the other ones inside too?
Yes.
The old ones?
Yep.
Hmm,
Yep.
Okay,
They gotta be in heat.
okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Oh, well, one more question, I guess. When were they gonna be able to start working on it?
I don't have the exact date, but it did not seem like it was too far out because we have our meters on hand already. It sounded like it was within weeks of approval.
Okay,
That they'd
yeah.
be able to mobilize the team out here.
Yeah, we gotta get that taken care of. Okay. Motion from Councilman Lundin, second from Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. And that comes out of the water fund, so you know, but. All right, let's see. Moving on to what'll be K4 now, the cannabinoid licensed continued discussion, so.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item was discussed on June 20th. Mr. Becker had brought forward the thought that as we have licensures being issued by the state, there is only a requirement to offer You're required to have at least one license per 10,000 residents. And Mr. Becker shared at that time that the city could, it looks like the state of Minnesota is moving or permitting that cities can hold a license. So he was requesting discussion from council. If it was something that council wanted to entertain, then if you were in support of it, staff would research it more. It's not definitively to say that we would hold the license if we were able to, but just that staff would research it if that was something that council desired staff to do.
Would that speed up process at all? I mean, if a staff here had that license, with, as far as red tape and stuff, or?
No, I think it will just do a couple things. It'll help us to guide how we will write our ordinances once the Office of Cannabinoid Management gets us fully established and starts issuing licenses. The city would be more prepared of how to write our ordinance, because if we are holding the only license that we're required to give, we have to write that in a certain way, so we'd be working on that. And then also the logistics of where would it go, how would we sell it? You know, it can't be sold in our liquor store, we know that. So what are the other options? It'd be researching the logistics as well.
So I had a question on this. Potentially, say if we go down that route and we have that lot that's adjoining the liquor store, could we add on to the liquor store if it's got a wall between and share the parking lot? If we were to do a smaller store like that, or see, I think I usually hate to have government in business, but I think the fact that the benefit would go directly back into the you know, the citizens here is huge, and the fact that we could regulate ours better than us if we were having an outside business come in. We can't really regulate them as well as we can regulate ourselves, if that makes sense. I think I would like to see the city have it and put that profit back into the community.
We'd have to research that with zoning to see. I mean,
Okay.
if it was a separate business, if we had
Right.
to make it a suite, so to say, if it was completely separate entrance, separate everything, it's possible, but that would be something we need to look into.
And for drainage purposes, to see engineering,
Sure.
how it would work, but.
I think that would be interesting. We could utilize some of the infrastructure we've already built there and kind of keep the cost down that way too, but.
What's the maximum license fee we can charge to a dispensary?
It depends. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I believe it was about 16 different licensures that the state plans to issue, depending on what kind of bucket you fall into and type of business that you plan to have. They do have some limits that can't be exceeded for what we would charge in addition to the state. But a lot of what I've read is up to 50% of what the license is what a state or a city could do for a registration fee. But I think that they have their costs outlined that we don't have a say for the actual licensure that goes through the state.
So it looks like the retail application is $2,500 and $2,500 renewable, so the most we could charge in theory would be half that.
It looks like up to half of what their license is what I've seen thus far.
I mean, you add 3 or 4 zeros, and that's what you're gonna make that in revenue for the city versus the $1,250 if you were to open your own.
It looks like we have a lot of ordinances to write. I mean, there's so many different businesses. I have a list of, I didn't even count them. There has to be 15 different type businesses you can open. We're gonna have to definitely take some time and look this over and decide if we're gonna regulate as a city each one differently or treat them all the same. Whether we have, now, you were saying one license for retailer, but how many license for manufacturer, cultivator, mezzo business, micro business? You got wholesalers, transporters, testing facilities of delivery services. I mean, are we gonna be cannabis, medical, are we gonna be touching on to any of that, or are we gonna have a one size fit all type?
Well, what I've seen is that we are required to have one retail license per 10,000 of the population. I haven't seen any other their guidelines come out on the others. I do believe that things will fall within some of that will apply here, some of it won't, just because of property sizes of things. But they will be things that we'll have to add into our zoning code of where it will be permitted.
Now, in theory, if council sat on its hands, those licenses could be took up. But if I understood it right, municipalities can issue as many licenses as they want. Is that true?
I have not seen a maximum number license, just the minimum.
So, in theory, Cambridge could issue 15 licenses or 20.
Well, and again, it's the state issuing the licenses. Only the
Right.
city can do registration. Yep. The city could limit the number of licenses that goes through the state.
Right. But we could open up,
The county could also regulate within.
okay. So if they wanted to take the chance and spend the 10,000 for the application fee, then they could approach us once they have a license in hand, asking us if they could open a business within city limits. That's basically how it would work?
Yes.
The only problem is you're not gonna find a place big enough for them to grow.
Well, that was just retail. Growing is a whole different thing. That's 20,000, yeah, for the cultivator. Application fee is 10,000 that you don't get back. So you pay the fee and you may or may not get it. Renewal is 30,000. So should we just limit this discussion to exactly just whether or not the city should have a city-run?
I think that's kind of, at this point, that's what staff is looking for direction on, is how many licenses do we want to have available? And because if we decide that it's only one and it should be the city, then it's more research that they would need to do probably in a little more timely manner. And if we decide that it's, there is no limit to the amount of licenses and we're going to let the free market kind of run the show, then that's probably not something that they need to jump on immediately, and we just have to kind of go through the plan, and I'm sure that the league will come out with probably some direction on what an ordinance would need to look like, and we can kind of work with some of that information as we get it and as they move forward, but would be my guess, right? So.
Yes, and I apologize, I did misspeak. I said one for every 10,000. It's actually 12,500 population, so I apologize for that. But yes, that is the direction we're looking at, and it really isn't necessarily to have and hold the license. It's for staff to research. What are the implications? What are the logistics of it? How much money could we potentially bring in for another revenue source? It'd be looking at all that. We are looking for direction just because that research, as you can imagine, takes quite a bit of time.
Right.
What would our zoning be impacted if we are holding the license and we're putting it on city property? There's just a lot of logistics to research options if we're even interested. Doesn't necessarily mean that we would do it.
I don't believe there's a lot of, we're not in a rush to do this because it's gonna be a while before the state really comes out with more guidelines on all these different type of businesses. I think all we need to do is decide whether the city wants to hold the license or not at this time, and then whether to apply, because we're looking a year or two down the road anyway, before anything ever happened with it. I personally, after looking at this and thinking about it, I am on the side of letting someone else have that permit or license. I don't believe the city should hold that license. It's too complicated for one, and I'm with Steve. He made the comment the other day, if he was, about the liquor store. We have it, we keep it, it's good for the city, but we have a chance here now to make a decision whether government should get into business on something else, and I have to say no.
I guess for me personally, I'd like to see the numbers. And, I mean, I really do seriously worry about bad business coming into town, and we can't really do anything about it if it's not ours. I think that's gonna be a huge problem with the state and with PD, and I think that's gonna be a huge problem if it's not ours personally, but.
But look at all them different type of businesses that can locate. I mean, there's a lot of different
Right.
businesses related to this.
Yep.
And we're gonna have to pay the 10 grand, just like anybody else would.
Yep.
They're not gonna give us a free ride, so that's gonna take a while to recoup. Then you
Sure.
gotta hire employees.
Sure.
Then you gotta get a building.
Yep.
And then you got all kinds of other things to go along with it.
But if you, I mean, we've seen how successful the liquor store is. That's one of our biggest revenue streams.
Yeah,
and-
but that was, you gotta remember, when they first opened it, it wasn't doing as good as you think it is today.
And once our population hits over 10,000, correct?
Ours is only 7,000 something.
No, once it hits
Once it
10.
hits over 10,000,
Oh, it's 12,500, she said.
no, for the liquor store.
Oh, okay. Sure.
And then I believe anybody could open up another competitive liquor store
We
in
have to
town.
allow another liquor license.
Is that correct?
Elk River only has Muni, so I know that there are some
There's some other-
restrictions. There are still some restrictions even as we grow larger on that, as long as it's something that council approves.
I wasn't sure if that was the same with, you know, the cannabis, retail places, as far as population numbers go, you know.
It's 12,500, you just said it, right?
For the cannabis license.
Okay.
And
For
you-
retail. yeah.
For a minimum of one.
Yes.
You have to have a minimum of one. Yep.
So, I mean, I think staff's gonna have to look into this and learn a lot about it anyways. So, I mean, when you're doing that, it would be nice to know if, you know, if there's projections that the city could profit $500,000 and put it right back into the tax base, well, seems like a no-brainer versus letting a capitalist or you know, someone that wants to do their own business do it and just take the money and go spend it in another community. Because a lot of those, they're not gonna spend, the profits aren't gonna be spent in this town. You know, it's gonna be bigger companies that are gonna come in, they're gonna try and, you know, they're gonna take that money elsewhere. It's gonna go California or big growing states, that's what's gonna happen with it, it's not gonna be here. So, I mean, I think it's better for the locals to benefit from it than from some rich businessman in California or Florida.
I guess I'm a fan of capitalism, so.
So am I usually, but in this
I
case,
mean, it also could be a resident down the street who opens that business and makes a
Could
bunch
be.
of money and donates a whole bunch to Illuminate Isani or something
be.
like that too, you know what I mean? So,
Yep.
you know, I mean, I think it's, that's what I'm in favor of not stopping is something like that, or just anything. I mean, I think the free market should decide who wins and loses, not us putting our, you know, keeping everybody out, and I think, you know, it's not, I'm not a fan of us having the liquor store either. You know, if I was in that boat there, you know, however many years ago now, I mean, I would have probably stood on this same issue and made this same argument about that. I don't have a problem with people smoking, but I don't think it's something that we as a city necessarily should endorse, and I don't feel that way about the liquor store either, you know what I mean? I think it's, you know, I don't, like I said, no problem with any of that, but I just think it's something that we shouldn't really be a part of, and I think the free market should do it, and I wouldn't see us needing to have any limit on the number of licenses available, because I think the state, you know, is gonna go through their due diligence and make sure that they're not, you know, giving it to folks that shouldn't have it, and, I mean, $10,000 is a decent chunk of money that somebody's gotta come up with to go through that process and risk just to see if they'll get approved anyway, so I think that's gonna keep, you know, some of the people that you're maybe worried about having a shop out. So I guess I wouldn't be in favor of doing anything with the city, but I'd be open to no limit on the number of licenses available.
If you put a limit on the licenses, say you put 4, you know, I mean, how many gas stations do we have in town? 5, I think. So say you did 4 or 5. Doesn't mean 4 or 5 are gonna get through the state. So then there might be 2 that don't get in, so that give someone else, 2 other parties an option to apply, you know. If you put a limit, doesn't mean you're always limiting other people.
I think that, I don't think we need to, I think that's guidelines already set, minimum of 1, and we'll go from there. You know, the state's gonna dictate what we can do. It isn't gonna be dictated by the city. The city's only giving them resignation, or however, whatever you used. Registration, yeah, registration. So when you get the registration, that's all we're gonna collect the money from. They already dictated you gotta have minimum 1. They didn't say we can't have 2, can't have 3. They said we have to have minimum 1. So.
And there are empty retail locations.
And that's,
existing.
and I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a lot we don't know about yet, and it's not come out yet.
Right.
And I think is like Councilman Heeman said, I think with discussion of us carrying a license or not, I think that's what we're looking at right now is all the decision we gotta make at this moment.
Yeah, everything else is so far down the road. I do have one question. So I haven't figured out if there's an actual requirement other than the distance from a school or distance from a daycare. Is there any requirements at all on the building? Does it have to be separate from, does it have to be its own building? Can it be connected to a mall? Can it be a gas station? Can it be, what are the requirements there?
I think right now it's up to the state on what their requirements are gonna be. Right now, what I've seen is what local control they're giving to the cities is the distance from the schools, and that we could limit the number of license, and that is all I've seen so far.
So in theory, they could sell it right out of a gas station?
Well, they can't, I don't believe that they're gonna be able to be mobile. Like, there are some restrictions that the state has already put in place, even for the hemp-derived low-potency products. So it can't be like a pop-up tent shop, so to say. So they have some requirements, but we won't be able to set additional requirements for the type of building in addition to what they set by statute.
Do you know of any other state that has this liberal of retail available? I mean, I've only been to 2 states and noticed them, and Alaska has to be a separate, and in Colorado, I noticed it was separate. Are there states out there where you could walk in a gas station and buy it, or convenience store?
We haven't done that research to compare, I'm not sure. And the state might require them to be in a separate building, I'm not sure.
I guess for me,
I'd need that answered before I could even decide how many licenses the city would approve or vote on it.
And maybe for tonight's conversations, just whether or not, maybe not even the number of licenses, it's just whether or not does council desire for the city to research having a license, I think is really the question here tonight. And then beyond that, we can look at limiting or not limiting down the road. Because if the council is interested in the city holding a license to set this up, that takes, looking to the research, the logistics of that. But also then we are looking at putting, likely the next step would be a moratorium in place where we'd have to have the discussion of all the other implications, like how many licenses and those other details.
And I wouldn't even want that discussion done until we even get some kind of guideline from the state, what they're going to do. And
I do know
that
some cities are already putting a moratorium in place because they don't want businesses potentially to be at the forefront and be ready before the city's ready. So some are putting moratoriums in. I know the county is discussing it, or had at least discussed it once at one of their meetings.
I guess something for us to consider is how much do we trust our state government to be doing the right things for our residents? If we hold the permit, we can decide what our residents are gonna see and what they're not gonna see. If the state decides that you could sell it out of a tent or a van, but the city says, no, we have our building and we don't have to issue anymore, that'll keep that type of riffraff out. I mean, if we approve, if we don't look into this, I think that sends the message that we trust what the state's doing. I personally don't trust what the state's doing it's best for our residents, because it's not usually. This community is, I would say they're less of the, in alignment with most of the Minnesota politicians down in the cities. And I don't think we should leave them in control of what our residents see here in our town, because I don't think we can trust them to make the right decisions for our residents. So that's why I think we need it. We can control it better. We can put the money from it right back in the tax base. I just don't trust that they're gonna do their jobs on this.
And I agree with you too. I mean, I don't trust them either, and I think if they wanted to give us actually something to have some way to kind of give cities at least a way out of this, it would have been to say, hey, you don't have to have any licenses if you don't want to, and I would have been.
But they didn't.
I would have said, well, I still would have said the same thing personally myself, that we should allow the free market to work and not have any limits on the number of licenses, but they should have given the option to cities to say, well, no, we don't want this here. And so, but I mean, they have said that they can't do it in mobile, pop-up shops or anything like that already. So
Or in a strip mall, or,
that
could be possible, it could be in a strip mall.
You said a tent or a trailer.
Right, it's just an
that's
example.
already not allowed, but.
I just think we can't.
we can change that later, Luke. We only have to go by their guides. First of all and foremost, I don't care what state it is. The federal government doesn't recognize it. So we're going to be limited to what we can do, no matter if it's us or anybody else. First of all, I look at it as being totally illegal to start with, because you have to charge cash. You can't take a debit card. How are you gonna show proof of tax?
And that's,
And I don't want us to hire another staff person to have to deal with that mess. You're talking, by the time you're all said and done with this is gonna cost us over $500,000. Building, licensing, staff members, everything right down the board. It's not gonna come back overnight. Look, it ain't gonna, we're not gonna get that
Right.
money back tomorrow. It could be 5, 10 years down the road. That, 5, 10 years down the road, there may not be one of us sitting up here, and it's completely somebody different.
We're not even sure at this point whether we just need to open up another counter at the liquor store. They really haven't defined what exactly you can do retail marijuana in.
They can't do it at the
Sounds like you
liquor
could
store.
do it any-
They said you cannot do it in the liquor store. That's already been stated.
Correct, that has been stated, that we
Okay.
know that we cannot have it within our municipal liquor store.
Okay,
It's gotta be an exclusive liquor store,
That'd probably
and
be the
that's
only
within
way that I
statute
would
has certain
consider
things of what it
looking
can
at
and
is if
cannot
we
sell.
could have it at the already existing liquor
yeah.
store.
what about an
that-
addition
They
on the
have
liquor store?
Tobacco already.
right.
What about an addition on that lot if it was possible, though? Add a
It's gonna be
small-
building a whole new building,
Yeah.
engineering. It's gonna cost $500,000 before you're said and done.
But ROI, you might get it. I mean, look at the liquor store, we're making the ROI is there for that, so why wouldn't it be there for this? It's the same type of concept. I think we need the information.
I don't disagree with you
Right.
that I think it would be a financial boom for the city. I think you're right about that. I'm not trying to argue that
Right.
point with you. But to me, it's more about, it's not about the money necessarily, it's about the principle of, hey, we shouldn't be in business. You know, but you're not wrong. I do think it would make money for the city, but,
I just
But I
worry,
just
we're here for the
can't-
best interests of the residents, and I just don't see the state keeping that in mind, and I just don't trust them. I mean, look at some of the decisions they're making down there.
yeah, I mean, and
It's,
see, I
a
think
lot of them
that's,
are silly, and
I think the best interest of the residents is to have the principled leadership. And but I get where you're coming from too, and I could respect that opinion and disagree with you.
I make a motion, we do not go after the license.
Can it be put on a ballot?
Advisory questions cannot be put on a ballot. So if the question is to ask residents if we think that we should or should not have something, that cannot be placed on a ballot.
Okay.
If it was tied to increasing the levy specifically for potentially like a facility, there are some verbiages that we can put in terms of questions. If it's directly tied, if your levy was to go up 4.2% because of something, there's certain ways you can, but not an advisory question.
I guess I see it as that the staff's gonna have to do the research to really understand what all this means anyways, so if they have to do a couple hours more research to give us actual numbers to see if it's, I don't know, if it's profitable, if it makes sense, or if there's things that maybe that were unforeseen before they did the research, that, hey, maybe there's loopholes in what the state's doing that opens us up to vulnerability from something bad happening. I think it's worth their time, because they're gonna have to research it anyway to know it.
I wouldn't be opposed to looking at numbers, but
Right,
I'm not saying I'd decide one way or the other.
correct. I don't think we can make any decision without getting some sort of numbers or information.
There's no real hurry on this. Can we just, how
Well,
long?
when is it legal? Is it August 1st?
I believe what's August 1st is that people can
Or recreational use of it?
yes, recreational use of marijuana, but the retail sales, I believe, is coming in 2024.
Okay, so if you're gonna if it's legal to use it August 1st, where are you buying it from then?
I think you can grow it yourself, but you can't sell it.
We don't have anywhere to buy that in
retail-wise.
town, do we?
I guess I'd make a motion to get information on it, because they're gonna have to do the research anyways to some extent. Just basic information on monetary costs, maybe for adding on to the liquor store and potential, I mean, there's gotta be some sort of information out there for what places in Colorado are making or anything like that, so that's my motion.
Or just research if there's any in any of the states, I would just research if there's any municipalities that have a retail store. And if there is, what are their numbers?
Sure.
I don't believe, I think, I'm not 100%, but I believe Minnesota might be the first one to allow municipalities to have a retail store. The other states do not.
Okay.
I agree. I think that's what I also heard.
And there might be a reason behind that too. If, I mean, that's a lot of states.
I'm curious how many cities are actually gonna make the leap and do it. If it's gonna be a large number, small number, everybody who owns a municipal liquor store is gonna go ahead and try for a license too, or?
I would imagine that the cities that have put moratoriums on are doing that as part of their research.
Yep.
If you put the moratorium on, it makes it so no one else can get that retail license until you figure it out, and you can take 12 months, and so that goes into 2024 to decide what you're gonna allow.
I'm not opposed to looking at the numbers.
I made the
And
motion.
then, and at least that way we'll know if it, you know, then we decide if that's something we wanna tackle.
Steve, what was your motion?
I made a motion, we don't go after having a license.
I'll second that.
Dan, did you want to second my motion or
Did you-
no?
Well, we have to take we've got a second on this one, we'll have to take a vote on that first, so. So your motion is not anything to do
Not
with
to
the number
pursue
of
the license.
licenses or anything
Yeah,
like
not to
that?
pursue the license.
It's just to say that the city is not gonna
Yep,
pursue
the
the
city,
license.
the
Yeah.
city's not pursuing the license.
Okay, so I have a motion for the city to not pursue a license from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
So the motion carries 3-2.
I just wanted more info.
We
before
need more
made
info.
that
That's-
decision.
All right, so
They're gonna have to spend it anyway.
moving on to K5, resolution to consider the name change for Park Recreation and Culture Board.
Yeah, good evening. So the Park and Rec Board, Park Recreation and Culture Board, had some discussion at a previous meeting about changing the name back to Parks and Recreation Board. I think the consensus was everybody felt that culture was kind of implied in Parks and Recreation as a whole, and we didn't really need to have that in the title. It was back in 2013, the council had decided to add culture to the title, and kind of laying out that they would be responsible for the review of all recreational facilities and buildings, including the community center. And the board will also review and make recommendations on items pertaining to city events, community art exhibits, artistic structures, the future of development of programs and policies of cultural and artistic significance to the community, which I think is stuff we just do on a regular basis anyway. So, I mean, the park board had recommended to change it back to just Parks and Recreation, so.
Motion to approve.
Second.
With this, if I may, Mayor and Council, with this change, it would take an ordinance amendment to Chapter 8, Section 7, for this to take effect. So if your vote tonight is to change the name to Parks and Recreation, before formally using that new name, it has to have a city code amendment.
Okay. Any discussion at all on that?
They just, I guess, what's the reason why they want to change it?
I just felt like it was redundant, that culture was kind of implied in Parks and Recreation as a whole. I mean, most communities are just Park and Recreation, so I think that was kind of the.
I think the in essence of back in 2013 when we were opening Legacy Park is there was an archaeological site in there and there was some cultural heritage discussions around that time, and they, from my understanding back in the day when I was here, is that they wanted to embody also that and make it much more than Parks and Recreation because of the Asante Native Americans that were here and the sites that we had at our park, just as some context to that.
I honestly don't remember when we changed it. I don't care either way. I mean,
I think the guys on the park board and the gal, they're just trying to be more simple, you know, I mean, it's just,
I mean,
it's a pain, it's kind of a pain to go say Park Recreation and Culture Board, and it's just Park and Rec, you know, so I think that was the reason behind it. They weren't trying to, you know, diss anybody's,
I don't even.
I don't think that back information was shared at the meeting.
no, yeah, but, But yeah, I think the thought behind it was just to simplicity's sake is all, so. But I've got,
Just call it park board then.
yeah, that's true, yeah. You wanna change it to just park board?
I'm not on the park board.
Well, yeah,
But, I
right.
mean, are we, if
it's
that's
for
the only reason we're
simplicity.
gonna put the staff through all this work is to simplify a name and change a-
I don't
an
know,
amendment?
yeah.
for
Also, marketing material will be reflected to make the
material,
change,
we could
so
change- I mean, to make a name shorter. I think it's kind of absurd, but
Is there a cost, what's the cost in that? If you're changing, you said you had to change a lot of paperwork?
Just
We'll
be,
have to codify the code because it's in city code, not zoning code, so.
Is there a cost to do that at all, or no? You have to publish it, I suppose, and,
$17.50 per page as we codify the code. I'd have to look at to see exactly how many places it's written within city code, as it talks about per diem. I think it's listed in a couple different sections.
What about changing the literature? I mean,
A lot of things have gone digital, but I think it is going through and just changing them.
We plan on changing the literature anyway. It hasn't been updated yet since I've been here or Jordan, so.
that would be my biggest cost concern. What it's gonna cost to change the pages is nothing. But if we gotta go out and print out 20,000 more flyers,
we
no, I don't
likely-
think, I
we
mean,
likely
anything
will
that you
not
just
be
print in the future
printing
would
out
just have the new
flyers.
name on it is all, so.
Yeah.
that would be my only concern with the change of the name, that's all.
But, I mean, like you said, Jordan, basically most communities, it's park and rec, right? I mean, it's just easy, I don't know, that was just the thought behind it. Wasn't my idea, but we've got guys on that park board and Madison, and, I mean, they're working hard, they're thinking about stuff, and they're just trying to be helpful, so.
Motion's been made and
Yep,
seconded.
so I've got a motion from, was it Councilman Heeman, and a second from Councilman Merrill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. K6, resolution to amend 2023-058, designating committees and representatives, city commissions, and advisory boards for year 2023.
So at the last committee of the whole meeting on June 20th, the council committee discussed having a representative of the League of Minnesota Cities. I did provide information to council via email that had information of what was available through the league. I've printed that out for you this evening. It's before you as well. And of their committees, they do have 4. Improving Local Economies Committee, that deals with issues such as growth management, land use, boundary adjustments, housing, transportation, economic development, telecommunications. Improving Service Delivery Committee deals with policies and issues on unfunded mandates, environmental mandates, elections, charter law, transportation, government innovation and cooperation, and public safety. Human Resource and Data Practices Committee deals with employment law, labor relations, data practices, open meeting law, personnel and pension issues. And then lastly, Improving Fiscal Futures Committee deals with policies on municipal financial management, property and other taxes, state aid programs, and financial reporting requirements. There are certain dates that these are held. Usually it is 3 dates during the summer, 1 day in June, July, August, and September. I have sent out an email asking the league representative if one of our council members could still join one of these committees. I am signed up myself from before for the Fiscal Futures. I did participate in that last year for the first time. It really is where it's a large round table. Some people, you can attend virtually or in person at their league offices. And it really is discussing the issues at hand, giving your opinions on it, giving stories of where your city has struggled, what would really help to kind of guide the league staff in fighting for issues that are at the forefront of your city. If there's interest in joining that, I'll reach out to council and let you know once I hear back if we can join this year. I do recommend, though, still appointing 1 or however many council members to some of these, and then as they come available, then we already have council's approval, if that's what you want to do, to have people go, attend these items and still get their per diem for going to these. I also attended last year or actually it was this year in February, or maybe it was the very, very beginning of March, City Day on the Hill, which was the first time I had attended that. And there were a lot of elected officials, quite a few mayor and council members there. I would say almost more than staff, probably even. It was over 200 people had attended. There was the tour of the Capitol, if you hadn't done that before, but it was meeting with all your representatives and congressmen and Senate, the people who make decisions that impact a lot of our local control. And I think that it was worth going to.
Where's the location of these meetings?
St. Paul is where they're headquartered, where their office is, or, and I would imagine that they'll continue to do it throughout the year because it's just as convenient. Some people attend and they're from northern Minnesota, so they attend virtually.
I think we'd have to set up a per diem for that because you're gonna have a personal vehicle and expenses there and back. So obviously it should be a little bit more than the regular. And I think it's
And
something
they're
that's.
longer.
Do we have to pay anything additional to attend these meetings, or is that part of our money that we pay to be a part of the league?
The committees, no. I do think the Capitol Day, I want to say, was $20. I'd have to look at my registration. I think that there was a small fee for that because they provided lunch. But we do already have a mechanism in place for mileage reimbursement. So if you do attend a league, whether it's a conference or a meeting, you can turn in your mileage reimbursement. And we do have some funds already budgeted to attend those type of conferences. So you'd get your $50 per diem for going to a meeting if it's approved by council on this list. And then you get reimbursed for the expense of driving in if you provided lunch on your own per policy.
I personally really like the idea of having one of the council members represent us at some of these,
Each one.
at every one of them that they can make it to. Unfortunately, I don't see it working for me right now, maybe next year. This year, no.
These are all the same, so those 3 dates, it's the same discussion that they're having, basically, though. It's not like we need to be at all 3 of these dates. Like, so.
No, it is actually, they want you to attend all 3 dates because they present the first date.
Okay.
They kind of present all their issues that they know about. Are there any more you want to add to the docket to have them, speak on behalf of these issues? And then the next one comes through and there's some legislative updates. Here's what the research has found. Here's how we can feel like we can make movement on the items. So yeah, it is different, each of the meetings, I think is the intent.
Makes it a little more complicated. What, do we choose each month, which one, or do we open it up?
I think we need to do it.
Open it up and do as many as a council member has time and willingness to do?
I think we should, yeah.
I think so too. I think we should try to be as
I don't know.
involved as possible.
They make direct
I haven't had time
recommendations.
for it, so I can't go. If one of you guys wanna go, that's fine with me. I don't have time, I can't do it.
I think it's important that city government steps up and tries to impact the direction of our state, so.
Work from 7:30 to 4.
Right, yeah, it is hard for sure, yep.
I work from 7 till sometimes 7 at night, so,
Yep.
no, I
With
can't
those
do
two
it, so.
gentlemen.
Yep.
Next year may be different, but this year,
I think it's important that we try, though.
I agree. If you or Jimmy can do it, that'd be awesome.
I mean, do we really, I mean, let's say, so improving service delivery committee, I mean, what is in service of, what would you think that's gonna cover?
That one has unfunded mandates, environmental mandates, elections, transportation, government innovation, cooperation, public safety.
So with the mandates, I mean, we could have been there for the mask mandate talk and stuff like that, where the government's gonna try and overreach and take control of our city. I think they all sound fairly
Yeah, I mean, I
important.
think we're paying for them to supposedly represent us. I mean, if
But
we
they don't
don't,
have our input, so
if
what's
we
the
don't
point?
give them our input, then what are we paying for, yeah, so.
Right.
I do feel that staff spends a lot of time and resources to make sure, for legal reasons, that we do a lot with human resources and data privacy, data practice issues, open meeting law, that kind of stuff. Not to say that that's not valuable to have you as council as a representative on that, but I will say that we do have quite a few staff resources that ensure that we are on top of that. But as there are issues that come through, and I know at the committee of the whole, it was brought up about the paid sick leave, I believe, that there was some, Mayor, I believe you maybe brought up that you thought that that could be fought on a little differently or harder. I don't want to speak for you, but that would be probably where that issue would have fallen.
Yeah, right.
I think we should try and take it on and see. I mean, we're gonna know if we go to one or two of them, if it's gonna be worth, if we think it's worth the taxpayers $50 to go to these things. I mean, it's kind of like with the school board stuff. I'm the school liaison, but we didn't really know what that meant. So I went to a school board meeting and I thought, well, this is well worth it because I found out about the schools in our city. So now we could find out if this is actually worth it and we can bring valuable information back to council as well as providing it to the whole state. I mean, I think it's important that we do it if we can.
Or if one of our lone voices can sway a policy.
Exactly.
Or a decision, yeah. It's worth it.
Well, it sounds like it's me and you, Luke,
Yeah.
if we're gonna do it. What do you think?
I mean, I don't have any problem. I'm not really a morning person, but we'll get her done. I mean, I have work too, but I'll take the day off to do it, so.
Tell me about that.
it's-
Mornings, yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same boat there. I think it's important that we try and sway the way our state is going. That's kind of our duty as council members, so I'm for it.
If the direction's to know who to add to this list, then I will just know that as things come up, as opportunities present themselves, like I said earlier, I'm still waiting to hear if we can still join the committees for the summer.
Right.
Or if you'd like to take my place, I have already signed up for the fiscal futures, that's fine too. I will then know which council members to keep in contact with as opportunities come up.
Yeah, I mean, I was kinda thinking maybe we could split
Yeah.
some of these up, cause it's gonna be a lot of days otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I could do the Tuesday morning and Tuesday afternoon, so basically that whole Tuesday I'm dedicating, so I could take the middle two, and I was most interested personally in the economies one.
Okay.
Economics is where I got my schooling in, so it's kinda interesting.
Yeah, you wanna do those two, and I'll
Yeah.
do the Monday morning and the Wednesday
Sure.
morning?
That would work for me. And then if for some reason, someone else needs to fill in, we still have that clause in there that says that somebody else can
Sure,
go.
so you and I could trade off
Yeah,
if we
yep,
needed to, yeah.
yep.
Okay,
And then we'll see if we don't think it's worth it, we can address it next year or whenever.
yeah, right.
Yeah, because
we
we all have a good idea. I
Try
think.
it this year and, yeah, see what we think.
It's possible that human resources and that one, I may be able to make a phone call to whoever may be doing it that day and say I can cover it. Some days I get off early and that's
Sure.
where I'm at, St. Paul, that's where I end my day most of the time.
Sure.
So I could swing into it, it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think if we put,
Do we need a resolution on this, Josie, a vote?
We do need a vote because it'll be voting on that to amend resolution 2023-58.
I make a motion, we amend that resolution. Yeah.
Second.
You guys can hatch the
Yeah.
rest of that
Okay.
out. We don't need to have that conversation.
So put us two on that, and we'll work amongst ourselves to
After we
figure out who's
vote.
gonna attend it. Okay,
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
okay. So I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from, did anybody give me a second? Yeah, that's okay, that's what I thought. From Councilman Collison, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Let's see, moving on to what's gonna be now K7. Resolution to reevaluate the city clerk position for the completion of the MCFOA certification. So I don't wanna pick on you or anything, Jaden, but, and I'm glad that you got that, but, so are there more responsibilities with the position now that we're certified to do certain things, or is it the same position? I mean, or is this education that was kind of predetermined that once you get this certification, the pay goes up? Or I guess I just wanted to make sure I understood.
So back in 2011, when Carissa Heng was hired, and she was in the city clerk position, It was required to have this certification. It's a 3-year program, as was shared earlier today, of 120 hours. It was required of the other 2 clerks that came after her. However, we didn't have it in the job description that it was we said it was required, and we had her get it, and we had Ms. Strand get it, because that has been what has always been done. However, when the jobs were reclassified and repointed, when we went through our analysis, that was not in there as a requirement. So the pay was not reflective of having the certification.
Okay.
So that's why Human Resources did repoint it. Now that we do have someone with this, I think it's a great retention strategy to keep Ms. Strand, because it's a very hard certification to achieve, because it's so intense for
There's
3
other-
years.
Yeah, there's other employees here with certain certifications, their pay goes up. So it's pretty standard practice.
Yeah, this is pretty unique that we don't have it listed as a separate add-on, like we do have most of our other certifications, like PD Public Works has it clearly defined for those add-ons and what the additional is. So in repointing it, it did add $1 to her wage.
Okay. And it had been required previous to this, it just kind of got, or it wasn't actually required.
It was required, but we didn't have anyone that lasted 3 years in the
Okay.
position.
Gotcha. So it was required, but it just got missed on that study that we did.
Correct. When we redid all the job descriptions that
Okay.
gave the points and the pay analysis for
Okay.
the compensation study, it wasn't included in that.
Okay, and now that we have someone that's got the certification, we're gonna update our, so that we're at, so
It will be in the job description. We're changing the
it
job
will be
description.
required in the job description, okay.
Yes.
All right,
But she's also she's going into the next step by having this.
no, I know, I
So,
just
mean,
wanted to
that's
understand,
not-
I'm
to
not,
me, it's
I
not
just
like
wanted
it's a
to
no-brainer.
understand it more than anything, so. But it's not steps just being added to step 11, it's the whole position has these 7 more points assigned to it that, right? But she's
Right.
going from step 4 to 5, which is $1 increase.
Right, it's about $1, but we kept them on our same grade 11, just bumped her up to the next step, yes.
Right, okay. So
Motion
those
So it
extra
doesn't
points
change the
didn't,
grade,
the
right.
extra points didn't add more steps or anything like that?
No, it did not. Her cap is still the same cap,
Okay, and about $1, like
yes,
a little over $1 or,
yes.
okay.
I made a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. For what is gonna be K8 now, the resolution to approve or offer James Major the new utility manager position in Public Works. So I just wanted to make sure before we hired for that position, I mean, pay is about $100,000 a year, I think, on that, and
The utility manager position is at grade 15. It goes from, step 1 is $38.07.
we're gonna start him at step 4.
And it goes up to step 9, which is $47.74. And step 3, and then in 6 months after successful completion of probation, goes to step 4. So I'll do the math real quick for the annual salary. So it'll be $84,017.65
Okay,
at the step 3. 6 months later, he'll go up.
okay.
So I have a question, since he is previously employed with the city. I guess I worry that he's basically getting a promotion, but everything's gonna stay the same, and we're just gonna have to spend more money. How much of a raise technically is this, since he is an employee now? I mean, it doesn't really add another employee to the public works, so how does this help the city?
He'll have
So
to
the
fill
job duties
his
are quite a bit
position.
different.
Okay.
And he actually won't be seeing a pay raise because he'll become an exempt employee. And when it goes from Public Works of being a union position, receiving overtime pay, he actually is taking a pay decrease.
Okay.
To actually have a pay increase, he asked for a little bit higher, which is understandable for him to make a lateral move. We will be backfilling the position with another Maintenance Tech 2 position, so the
Okay.
number of technicians will stay the same.
Okay.
And Jim does a great job.
He
Right.
does a
And
fabulous
he's got a
job.
passion for
Yeah.
this area.
I just thought it was a little strange to ask for this new position and then hire someone from within, I guess it is. I mean, I get it, but with that
Well,
explanation.
currently, we don't have anyone who just is dedicated to utilities alone.
Right,
So
it's
this is
spread out.
creating that.
Yep.
Yep.
He's familiar with all,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yep, I know he is.
all the operations, and
Yep,
bringing in someone new, who's gonna train that new guy,
sure.
the guy that's making less than him?
Yeah, I didn't know we were gonna hire another tech. I didn't know we were gonna hire someone to take his current position. That was my.
But I mean, I guess I'm also kind of curious because he's really doing that now.
Right,
So I mean,
exactly.
No,
what
he's
are we-
not doing majority of those duties
No?
now, no. As utility lead, which is what he's in there about 1 day a week, he does some things like writing SOPs and assisting with ensuring that other technicians are feeling comfortable when they're in there if they have any questions, because
So
he's been there
everybody's,
so
I mean,
long.
he's not doing that now, but he's the
No.
lead of doing that, and everybody pitches in right now, and so it's, instead it'll be one person there all the time doing that as a primary focus of their job, right?
As well as the project management stuff
Okay.
side of items, and capital improvement planning will move to this position, and the overseeing of all those.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And just for council to be aware, we did also open it externally, and we did interview quite a few candidates for this position.
Okay. All right, I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. What is gonna be K8 am I on, right, I think? K8, so the resolution approving the hire of part-time summer parks and events assistant Olivia Knowlton. I thought we had talked about this, like, the last meeting, and we asked if, or I asked if we were gonna hire for that since we had a resignation, and I thought it was gonna, or maybe it was Jordan who had, I don't remember who I talked to about it, but I thought we were just gonna kinda split time for the one who, but we were gonna kinda share the one intern for the
That is-
season?
That is no, this is that person.
Okay,
So this will be a shared seasonal staff person
Gotcha.
with Public Works.
okay, gotcha, all right. That makes sense. Okay, well, that's, I
Motion
just
to
need
approve.
clarification on that. I've got a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin
Second.
and a second from Councilman Merrill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. And do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Any other discussion?
I'll provide an update for council real quick under communications for City Hall re-roof. There was a delay in the project. It was to begin actually the end of last week of staging materials. However, because the tin is back-ordered, that'll be coming a little bit later. We don't know exactly the date yet, so I will keep you posted in our admin updates, but it will not be occurring this week or next week.
Have we received any bids for BMX, or cannot that not be said? Has the process been better on that than it was the first time, or?
I believe that the sealed bids are going to Wold, so I'm not sure what they've received
Okay.
yet. We usually get the full tally on bid opening day or after it closes. I haven't heard yet.
Okay, when does that close? Do you know?
I'll have to look it up to be sure.
Okay, no problem.
That was all under Mike Becker's
Yeah,
thumb,
yep.
so.
I just want to make sure that we're heading the right direction on that.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
I have a motion to adjourn from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned.